I was standing on my porch watching a line of cars trapped at the bottom of my private road horns blaring through a white wall of snow when I heard her voice screaming my name. The same woman who had trespassed onto my land weeks earlier and dumped rock salt across my frozen pond was now begging me to clear the only road back to her neighborhood. And in that moment, with the wind cutting across my face and the snow piling higher by the minute, I realized this entire nightmare had never been about safety. It had always been about control. My name is Isaac, and until all of this started, my life was quiet, in the kind of way you don't appreciate until it's gone. I own about 20 acres of land in rural Vermont, just outside a small town most people pass through without stopping. The property has been in my family for 3 generations. My grandfather built the original cabin back in the 1950s with his own hands, and over the years my father and then I expanded it into a proper home. There's a barn, a workshop, and my favorite part of the entire property, a natural spring-fed pond that freezes solid every winter. Clear ice, smooth as glass, perfect for skating or ice fishing when the temperatures drop. I'm not a wealthy man, but I'm comfortable. I work with my hands, I keep to myself, and I take pride in maintaining what my family built. One of those responsibilities is Maple Ridge Road. It's a narrow private road that branches off the county highway and runs through my property before splitting one way toward my house, the other toward a gated community called Mountain View Estates. That community didn't exist when my grandfather bought this land. It was built about 8 years ago by a developer who, from what I've been told, really wanted to buy my grandfather's property. Grandpa refused. Instead, they worked out an easement agreement. The residents of that development could use our road to reach the county highway. That was it. No ownership, no maintenance obligation, just the right to pass through. For decades, my grandfather maintained the road because he needed it. When I inherited the place, I did the same. In winter, that meant plowing. I had a heavy-duty truck with a commercial plow, and every time it snowed, I'd clear the road so I could get in and out. The people in Mountain View Estates benefited from that too, and I never had a problem with it. I wasn't doing them a favor exactly, but I wasn't trying to be a jerk either. That all changed when Patricia Henderson moved in. Patricia was in her early 50s and somehow looked perpetually offended by the world around her. Sharp haircut, perfectly manicured nails. White luxury SUV with a live laugh love sticker that somehow made everything worse. Within 2 years of moving into Mountain View Estates, she had maneuvered her way into becoming HOA president. I didn't deal with her directly at first. I just heard the stories. She fined people for leaving trash cans out a few minutes too long. She tried to force a veteran to take down an American flag because it wasn't the approved size. She went after an elderly couple over a vegetable garden, claiming it didn't fit the aesthetic vision of the community. I remember thinking, glad I don't live there. I should have known better. The morning. Everything started. I was standing by my kitchen window with a cup of coffee, watching the sun rise over my frozen pond. The ice was perfect, thick, clear months in the making. Then I saw movement near the water. A woman in a heavy coat was marching across my property with a bright orange bucket in her hand. It took my brain a few seconds to catch up to what my eyes were seeing. Then I realized she was dumping something onto the ice. I dropped my coffee and ran outside without even grabbing my coat. The temperature was around 15 degrees, but I barely felt it. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted as I ran toward the pond. Patricia Henderson looked up at me with that same smug expression I'd seen on her face in town. "Good morning, Isaac," she said cheerfully. "I'm ensuring public safety." "That pond is on my private property," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You are trespassing." She smiled and pulled out her phone. "Actually, county ordinance says that any body of water visible from a public access road must meet certain safety standards. Your pond is visible from Maple Ridge Road." I stared at her, genuinely stunned by the mental gymnastics. Maple Ridge Road isn't public. It's private property with an easement. And even if what you're saying made sense, which it doesn't, you're not a county official. You can't just walk onto someone's land and start destroying their property. She dumped another scoop of rock salt onto the ice-white crystals, scattering across the surface. "I'm acting in my capacity as HOA president. Several residents have expressed concern about children wandering onto this pond and falling through the ice. What children? I snapped. Your community is half a mile away and behind a locked gate. That's not the point, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. If you refuse to maintain your property in a safe manner, the HOA has a duty to intervene. I looked at the ice already starting to melt where the salt hit. I had an ice fishing weekend planned. Friends were driving in from out of state. You just ruined that. She rolled her eyes. Your little fishing trip isn't more important than children's safety. I stepped closer. Get off my property, now. She crossed her arms. Or what you'll call the police, go ahead. We'll see who they side with. Something about the way she said it sent a chill through me that had nothing to do with the cold. As she walked away, she left the half-empty bucket of salt sitting on my shoreline like a challenge. I stood there watching months of careful preparation dissolve in minutes, anger burning in my chest. I didn't yell. I didn't chase her. I went inside and called my lawyer. Roger had handled my grandfather's estate and knew the easement agreement inside and out. After I explained what happened, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "She's completely wrong. That ordinance doesn't apply to private property, and even if it did, the HOA has zero enforcement power. She committed trespass and property damage." "So what do I do?" I asked. "Document everything he said. Photos, dates, times. I'll draft a cease and desist letter today." I felt better, but only a little. I still had to call my friends and cancel the ice fishing weekend. Some of them were already on the road. That part hurt more than I expected. The cease and desist letter went out 2 days later. I even filed a police report, though the officer treated it like a minor neighbor dispute. I assumed that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Within a week, I started finding official-looking HOA notices taped to my front gate. One claimed my barn violated aesthetic standards. Another demanded I remove my workshop for being too close to a property line that didn't even apply to me. Then there was a notice requiring me to attend mandatory mediation to discuss integrating my property into the HOA. I called Roger again. He sounded tired. "Ignore them," he said. "She's trying to intimidate you." So I ignored them, and she escalated. More notices. More false claims. She started telling people in town that I was a problem neighbor, that I refused to maintain safety standards. I tried to shrug it off, but it wore on me. Every time I walked past my gate, there was another piece of paper reminding me that someone out there was determined to make my life miserable. Then came the biggest snowstorm of the year. Nearly 2 feet of snow overnight. I woke up early as always, ready to plow. That's when I saw the notice taped to my gate. Notice of easement modification, it read. According to Patricia, I now needed HOA approval for any maintenance activities on Maple Ridge Road. I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking not from the cold, but from disbelief. I sat in my truck staring at the snow-covered road and felt something break inside me. For the first time, I wondered if I was wrong. If standing my ground was worth this stress, maybe I should just give in. Then Roger called back. "That notice is meaningless," he said. "She has no authority." I asked him one question. "If I don't plow the road, am I violating the easement?" There was a pause. "No," he said slowly. "You're not obligated to maintain it." That was the moment everything changed. I unhooked the plow, parked the truck, and went back inside to make breakfast. By noon, the horn started. By early afternoon, people were knocking on my door demanding to know why I hadn't plowed. I calmly explained the situation. Some got angry. Some threatened to call the police. Then Patricia showed up, trudging through the snow, screaming my name. "You need to plow the road right now," she shouted. "I can't," I said calmly. "You told me I need HOA approval." "That's not what I meant," she snapped. "It's what you wrote," I said. She accused me of holding the neighborhood hostage. I told her this was consequence, not extortion. The police eventually arrived. They sided with me. That was the moment the residents turned on her. By the next morning, she was removed as HOA president. She tried to sue me anyway. $50,000. My lawyer laughed. We countersued. In court, she admitted to trespassing, to salting my pond, to believing she had authority over my land. The judge didn't buy it. I won. She lost everything. As she stood there listening to the ruling, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. Because this never had to happen. And that's the lesson I took away from all of it: authority, without respect, always destroys itself.